Hey, Mr. Parka here to another Frantic Friday review, which is where I review anything I'm watching that I feel like reviewing. Today I don't have a copy to show you. I'll be reviewing the 1989 Canadian horror anthology Freakshow. I had heard about this. I heard it actually was pretty decent in a lot of spots, kind of a lost movie. It wasn't for as far as I could tell, the budget wasn't very small for this Canadian flick. Definitely very Canadian. Essentially, what we have here is a massacre opening up, and a news reporter who definitely kind of knew a lot more than she let on, and kind of might be sort of responsible for this massacre that opens up in a kind of Bloody Wednesday style deal. Our cameraman leaves, everybody leaves her. She's kind of despicable person, ends up getting stopped by this guy in the street to use the phone, goes inside, and what happens is he wants to show her a freak show. When it got to that point, I figured, did I accidentally rip this movie off completely? With my movie, I don't want to, plug it, but that's what I felt for a second. I was like, oh no, I ripped this movie off bad. But as it progressed, I realized there's not much in common except maybe the guy showing his collection, I guess. What happens here is the host kind of tells her about four stories. At first, they show this creature in a jar, and I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna get a little bunch of little creature movies," and I'm gonna be super excited to see all these kind of monsters. But that's not really it. It's more metaphorical, I guess. The freak which is inside of you, which the horror and stuff that comes out of you, which what you see, and kind of nonsensical, weird stuff like that. And the first story is about a junkie who kills a guy and is basically chasing a dog the whole time to get his drugs. This story is pretty painful to watch, to be honest. I almost tuned out completely. The second story involves a bunch of Italian restaurant with a bunch of Italian stereotype characters, and they send this new guy to deliver a pizza to somewhere on Bram Stoker Road. Of course, you know what's going on here. This one is really bizarre and has this strange dance number in it. A lot of ADR. A lot of the characters say things off camera. This one guy's character's voice is when he's on the phone, he's like the typical, "Hey, what you mean? Hey," kind of guy, and then when he hangs up the phone, he's completely normal sounding. I don't know what the hell's going on with that character. Really cheesy entry in here. The third is kind of like the Tales from the Crypt episode Abracadaver, which is a really cool episode. This one not so much, also involving drugs. And the final story here is actually a beaut. It kind of has the charm of something like Chud 2, if you like that cheesy stuff, or Return of the Living Dead Part 2, with these guys stealing the dirt from a graveyard and selling it to a golf course, and all these goofy zombies come back. They even added some ADR later when the zombies are jumping in the pool, like, "It's cold, last one's in the rotten egg." So it's completely ridiculous. This is one of those films that I'm kind of wondering who it was made for, because there is a scene or two of violence, an F-bomb, and maybe a sex scene without any nudity, which would give it, an R, but really it feels more like a PG-13 kind of childish sentimentality. So it kind of confuses me on who this movie was made for. And the budget range suggests it looks fairly expensive, but this movie's kind of forgotten at the same time. I love the last story with the zombies. I think it has a nice charm, a nice atmosphere, and a cool story. The one story, they do seem like, EC comic style stories, except, the first, which I think is set in kind of almost like a future, like grimy society, it seems like. But do I recommend watching Freak Show from 1989? I know it's super rare in VHS, so if you can spot it anywhere, I believe that's what I hear, then I would pick it up. But I would suggest watching the last story. That's what's great about a horror anthology. They got 3 to 5 ways to please you, and a lot of times there's a lot of crap you get through just to see one good story. I would say the last story has its charm. It's kind of fun. I would say that the stories really are fairly unrelated. I don't know if they had any of them shot and just kind of mashed them in here, especially the vampire one. But there is a one actor who appears in the wraparound and the main. I would say I like the wraparound. Really love the last story. The other 3 stories I could live without, especially the first one. The second one is so bad it's hilarious, if that makes any sense. And these aren't really serious, especially the second one. Maybe the third one's a little bit more serious. But that is 1989's Freak Show, not to be confused with the one made in the mid 90s, 94, 95, with Gunnar Hansen, or the newer one by Asylum Pictures. I believe it's Asylum. But this is a 1989 Freak Show. If you snoop around, I bet you can find it some places. But thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.